we find ourselves in a very special circumstance these days. Well, the deal is that we were all expecting to be in college right now. However, because of the pandemic, we all have our days off. So that's our theme for the webinar, College Off, Corona On, What to Do. So let's begin with a final year story, and this was my final year story. Consider two groups of people. So let's call them A and let's call them B, right? In group A, out of six people, four did not make it to the next round and two made it to the next round. And in group B, two people did not make it to the next round, four people made it to the next round. Now tell me which of these groups represents the rejection ratio in interview and which represents the rejection ratio in aptitude. Now, this is a story from my college. I was working in the placement cell, and while I was working in the placement cell, we noticed very closely that majority of the people actually got eliminated in the aptitude part. So, suppose you have, let's say, 100 people writing an exam, around only 50 to around 50 to 60 will get eliminated in that round, and only about 40 will go to the next round. And out of these 40 who go to the next round, around 30 of them will get an offer letter. So that's why they say that in aptitude test or in the campus recruitment scene, once you clear the aptitude round, the chances that you will get a final offer or that you will clear the interview is very high. Okay? So that's why we have organized this masterclass and this introductory webinar in order for you to see in what way can we leverage this. Now, those who have problems listening to me or if the volume is too low, kindly put your volume of the phone to max and use earphones. That will help you out a lot. Okay? Fine. Now, let's move on to what you came here for.
Volume is still low actually.
I made it high. Let's see.
Now
Okay.
you made it, right?
Yeah. And again, if you're having difficulty hearing me, then please turn up the volume on your phones all the way up, as well as use headphones. I highly recommend that you use headphones. A lot of you who have joined our Telegram channel will recognize this problem from the Telegram channel that we have. And I posted this problem in the morning. The problem goes something like this: A can complete a project in 20 days, and B can complete the same project in 30 days. Okay? Just a moment, I'll adjust the audio parameters a little bit. Okay, I hope that this is audible to all of you. All right, so let's continue. So let's look at this question, and I posted it in the Telegram channel this morning. And in case you haven't joined the Telegram channel, I highly recommend that you do so. All our information regarding future webinars, future courses, and future certification programs, as well as offers that we have, such as coupon codes or discounts, will all be posted on our Telegram channel. So, everyone, I'll be sharing the link with you regarding the Telegram channel in a while. So, let's get to solving this problem. Okay, thank you, Irfan, for confirming that it's audible. Okay, and Akshay, the session will be till about 12 o'clock, so it's about an hour long. And Vikas, yeah, I just answered that question. The webinar will end at about 12 o'clock. And many of you in this question have answered 12 days and 18 days. Okay. Now, 12 days is not the answer for sure. 12 days is the answer when they both work together for the entire duration. So let's say this is the start and this is the end. And if both of them, like A and B, work for the entire duration from this point to this point, they will finish the job in 12 days. However, what is happening is before the actual completion of the work, 10 days before the actual completion of the work, A is leaving. So A and B have not worked for the entire duration. So now let's see how to solve this problem. Now the first thing is many of you would have done 1 by 20 and 1 by 30. This is the point where you would have started. Okay. And my recommendation is please don't start with this. Please don't start with the reciprocal method. You will use more time than what is actually required and you will end up doing a lot of extra writing work. Instead of that, there is a better approach. You see, in all these time and work questions, they will tell you that they can complete a project, but they'll not tell you exactly what is the work that they're doing. So let's imagine that the work that they're doing is they're building roads. Okay. It looks like a river, but I'll be again drawing a proper river when we discuss boats and streams. The project, let's say, that they have to do is they have to construct a road. So that is the first step. Assume the nature of the work. So the nature that we have assumed is that they have to construct a road. Okay. Now, second step is quantify the work. Now, normally why this 1 by 20 comes is because you have quantified the work as unit work. Don't do that. We can take the work as any unit and I choose to take the total length of this road that they have to build as 60 kilometers. Now the reason why I am taking 60 kilometers is 60 is very easy to divide with 20 and 30. Okay. Now let's create a simple table. Whenever possible, representing information in tabular format will give you an edge in competition because it will reduce the amount of writing work and it will simplify the calculations. On this table, we have 3 rows: time, efficiency and work. We have 2 people, A and B. They say that A takes 20 days to finish a job and B takes 30 days to finish a job. And I've assumed that the total work is 60 kilometers. So how much can A do in one day? 60 by 20, 3. How much can B do in one day? 60 by 30, 2. The amount of work that they can do in one day is what we call efficiency. Now let's say A and B work together. If A and B work together, A will do 3 kilometers of road and B will do 2 kilometers of road. So total 5 kilometers. So A plus B can do 5 kilometers in one day. They have to do 60 kilometers. So how much time will they take to finish the job? 12 days. But this is not what they have asked us. What they have asked us is if A leaves 10 days before the actual completion, then how much time will it take to complete the entire task? Okay. So here we are going to assume a simple variable. This is the start of the work and this is the end of the work. Assume that it took D days to finish the entire job. At some point in between, let's call this X, A left. So till here you had A and B, and from here to here you had only B. So who has worked for the entire duration? B has worked for the entire duration. A, B. Time, efficiency. So efficiency of A is 3, efficiency of B is 2, and the total work done is 60. All that doesn't change. B has worked for full D days. See, B is working from the point till A left. After that also B continues. A has worked for D minus 10. Okay. So 3 kilometers A can build in one day. So how much work did A do? A did 3 into D minus 10. How much work did B do? 2 into D. If I add both of this, which is 3D plus 2D minus 30, what will I get? I should get the total work, 60. So 3D plus 2D, 5D. And 60 plus 30, 90. Which says D is equal to 60 plus 30, which is 90 by 5 or 18. If you're familiar with this method, you can actually do the entire calculation mentally. Okay? So I'll just give a moment till we proceed to the next topic. Alright? Now this is not the shortest way of doing it. Right? I just wanted to show you one step shorter than the actual shortcut. See, the actual shortcut would be A plus B can do 5 kilometers in one day. Kilometers per day. Now A left 10 days before the actual completion. So A left 10 days before the actual completion and A can do 3 kilometers per day. So the deficit is 30 kilometers. If I add this to my total work, what I get is 90, and then when I divide by 5, I get 18. Okay. So the reason why behind this method and how it works, we will discuss it in the master class. Okay. And the master class will start from Monday, which is 23rd. And the timings we will inform you on our Telegram channel, or you will receive the information via mail. Now let's go to the next problem. The next problem is from the chapter Profit and Loss. And the question says, a dishonest grocer professes to sell pure butter at cost price, but he mixes it with adulterated fat and thereby gains 25%. Find the percentage of adulterated fat in the mixture, assuming that adulterated fat is freely available. This is a question that comes from the area of profit and loss. Yeah, so Spurti and Neha and Arvind, this method actually in this webinar, I want to show you how quickly we can solve problems. We will be going into the theory and how it works during the masterclass. So please make sure that you join for our masterclass in case you're not able to follow the method that we are following. The others, you can try out this problem from profit and loss. Is the answer option A? Is it B? Is it C? Is it D? Or is it E? Please see how you could solve this problem. In the masterclass, I will not be repeating the same problem, but I will be discussing, see, actually this problem is slightly higher difficulty. I'll be discussing some simpler problems and I'll be discussing some problems that are even tougher than the time and work problem that I gave you. So we'll be covering all types of problems. And I'll be sharing the Telegram link shortly after we solve problem number 3. We'll be sharing the Telegram link. Okay, Gravit, you gave the answer as 2. Okay, 25%. Now here we have a dishonest shopkeeper. Okay. So we have a dishonest shopkeeper and he's telling the public that, you know, guys, I'm selling things at the same price that I'm buying. So the people will think that, oh, such a nice person, he's selling the things at the same price he's buying. He's not making any profit. He's not making any loss. But actually, secretly, this guy is making a profit of 25%. Okay. Now I'll show you how I can apply this profit of 25% in order to find the answer within, let's say, 5 seconds. For a profit of 25%, we have something called the SP by CP ratio. For 25%, SP by CP will be 5 by 4. And normally how you interpret this is something that I bought for 4 rupees, if I sell it for 5 rupees, then I make a profit of 25%. Now this ratio 5 by 4 for SP by CP will be true no matter what, whether you're selling butter, whether you're selling clothes. If you're making 25% profit, the ratio of SP by CP will be 5 by 4. Okay. But here what they're saying is I'm buying and selling at the same price. So we have to interpret this ratio 5 by 4 in another way. Imagine that this is the shopkeeper's pocket. Okay, shopkeeper's pocket or purse. He's actually spending the money for 4 liters of, let's say, butter. Okay, for 4 kg of butter, he has to actually give the money. First, he has to buy that 4 kg, then he will mix it with adulterated fat, and then he will make a profit. So he has to get that 4 kg first. For that, he'll have to spend money. But actually, he's getting money for 5 kg. He's spending 4 kg, but he's getting 5 kg. So how much profit did he make? He made a profit of 1 kg. How much did he spend to make a profit of 1 kg? 4 kg. So this will give 25% profit, right? Now the question is, what is the percentage of adulterated fat in the mixture? So out of 5 kgs that he has, 1 kg is adulterated. So that if I convert it into a percentage, I get 20%. So the right answer will be 20%. Now a lot of you will be wondering, where did this 5 by 4 come from? Okay. Now let me show you the logic behind that. Now let's say somebody was earning $1,000 and this guy gets a salary increment of 25%. What is the new salary? New salary will be the old salary 1000 plus 25 by 100 into 1000. If I take this 1000 common, I get 1 plus 25 by 100. And this will get reduced to 1 plus 1 by 4 or 1000 into 5 by 4. Anything if you're increasing, let's say old value, new value, if you're increasing it by 25%, then you can do the same thing by multiplying it by 5 by 4. So the cost price is the price that the shopkeeper used to buy something. Okay. I multiply it with 5 by 4 and I get the selling price. If I just rearrange this equation, I get selling price by cost price is 5 by 4. So that's the logic of 5 by 4. Okay. So for 25%, it is 5 by 4. For 20%, it will be 6 by 5. For 33.33%, it will be 4 by 3 and so on. We'll be covering this concept more in detail in our masterclass. So for now, I wanted to demonstrate how you can use the SP by CP ratio in order to find the answer to this question within 10 seconds. Okay. Yeah, actually, this is 5th standard maths. There's nothing in aptitude that you have not learned in school. But the problem is we have lost touch. We are not doing anything other than addition, multiplication, subtraction, and division. However, it is the approach that matters. When we studied these things in school, teachers used to evaluate for each step to make sure whether we have understood the concept properly. At the aptitude level, they take it for granted that they have understood the process, and they're just looking at the speed. So, none of these things are new. You have learned these things in school. However, it is the approach and technique that you use that will make all the difference. Now, from profit and loss, let's move on to the next one. Next one is from permutation combination. Please give this a try. In how many ways can five people, A, B, C, D, and E, form a circle with all the people facing inwards such that B and C are together? So these five people, they have to form a circle. So A, B, C, D, and E. So five people have to form a circle and they're all facing inwards. How many ways can they form this circle if B and C need to be together? So please try this problem. Again, if you know this concept, the calculations will not take more than 20 seconds to finish. So please try this out. So some of you are given 4 factorial into 2 factorial. Okay. I see a lot of people posting 4 factorial into 2 factorial, which is 48. Is there any difference between A, B, C, D, E forming a straight line versus forming a circle? What's the difference between circular permutation and linear permutation? Circular permutation and linear permutation, what's the difference between that? Okay, so the difference is, if I have 5 people, A, B, C, D, E, this will also come as a case of vowels together. So they'll give you a word, like for example, let's say dream. And they will ask you how many possibilities or how many ways can the word dream be rearranged such that the vowels E and A are together. For these questions, what you do is, suppose I take the word D, R, M and E, A as a separate unit. Then totally I have 1, 2, 3, 4 units. These 4 units can be arranged in 4 factorial ways. And this subunit of E and A can be arranged in 2 factorial ways. So you have 4 factorial main arrangements and you have 2 factorial sub arrangements. So with 4 factorial main arrangements and 2 factorial sub arrangements, the words in which the vowels are together using the letters in the word dream, you get 48 different permutations. But the problem here is that we are talking about the letters being arranged along a straight line. However, in this question, they are forming a circle. So what's the difference between circular permutation and linear permutation? Let's check that. If I have, let's say, 5 people, okay, A, B, C, D and E. The number of ways in which they can be arranged in a circle is n minus 1 factorial. So the number of ways in which A, B, C, D and E can be arranged in a circle is n minus 1 factorial. However, in our question, B and C need to be together. So A, let's consider BC as 1 unit, D, E. Now you have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 units. These 4 units can be arranged in a circle in n minus 1 factorial. which is actually 3 factorial. And then BC can be rearranged in 2 factorial ways. So the answer is 12. So for everybody's clarification, if A, B, C, D were standing in a straight line, if A, B, C, D and E are in a straight line, then you get 48, which is basically 4 factorial into 2 factorial. Many of you got that. However, if A, B, C, D stand in a circle, then you get 3 factorial into 2 factorial, which is 6 ways. Okay, so the answer is 12. That's right, 12 is the correct answer. Okay, I can make this question even tougher if I can change this inward with all the people facing. If I change it to inward or outward, then there is one more condition added to the entire mix, and that will complicate the problem even more. Okay, now let's continue. Some of you were asking for our official Telegram channel. So our official Telegram channel is t.me/ethnoscodemitra. And in case you're wondering who's Ethnos and what's CodeMitra, let us give a brief introduction regarding that. So Ethnos is a company that has been in the field of employability skills training since 2007. And from 2007 to now, we have trained lakhs of students and we have placed thousands of them. And in our effort to train and place students, we started many products. For example, CodeMitra is one of our product, InPick is one of our product, eGuru is one of our product. We started all this so that we can help the students find employment and help the recruiters find the students who are looking for employment. So CodeMitra is our flagship technical program. We'll be speaking to you more about this as we progress. So please, after this webinar, join this link t.me/ethnoscodemitra. And on this Telegram channel, we'll also be posting the recording of this video in a short time. So you can review these shortcuts on our Telegram channel. Sorry about that. So let's continue. Next is probability. If a coin is tossed 4 times, what's the probability of getting exactly 2 tails if the likelihood of getting a tail is 2 times the likelihood of getting a head? Now, in case you're not able to utilize Telegram on Apple phones, you can feel free to join the web version. Okay, so it will be web.telegram.org. So just like you have a WhatsApp web, you can join it on a browser. Please try this problem from probability. Karthik, the problem in which they face outwards, you can try it out on your own. It will be for each person there are 2 possibilities. Okay, A facing inwards, A facing outwards. So you consider them as 2 separate people and attempt the problem. A who can face inwards and A who can face outwards. So you can take that as 2 separate people and then do the same problem, you will get the answer. Okay, so here's a question. If I have a coin, okay, if I have a coin and I toss it, what's the probability of getting a head? If I have a coin and I toss it, what's the probability of getting a head? I take a coin, I toss it. What is the probability of getting a head? Okay, so somebody made an observation that these two are the same. Let me just modify that. Okay, fine. The masterclass will start on 23rd and the recording of this video will be available on our Telegram channel. Okay, so if I have a coin and I toss it, many of you have said that the probability of getting a head is 1 by 2, which is actually incorrect. It will be 1 by 2 only for an unbiased coin. The probability of getting a head is 50% only for an unbiased coin. If the coin has a bias, the probability of getting a head will not be 1 by 2. So in this question, if you solve it using 1 by 2, you will not get the right answer. Okay. If you solve it using 1 by 2, you will get this answer, which is actually incorrect. Okay. Now in our coin, in our quest coin, they have said that the probability of getting exactly two tails, getting a tail is 2 times the likelihood of getting a head. If I toss a coin, then the outcomes will be I can get head, I can get tail. Other than head or tail, I will not get any other possibility. Now, in case you're saying what if the coin lands like this, it is considered an invalid toss. Okay, so the only valid outcomes are head and tail. Okay, so if I take the probability of getting head and probability of getting tail, I should get 1. Now in our question, they have mentioned probability of getting tail is 2 times the probability of getting head. So probability of getting tail is equal to 2 times probability of getting heads. If I substitute this in this equation, I get probability of head plus 2 times probability of head is equal to 1, or probability of head is equal to 1 by 3. Okay, which tells me probability of getting a tail is 2 by 3. Now this, people, is what we call the biased probability. Okay, so heads 1 by 3 and tails 2 by 3 is what we call the biased probability. If the coin is unbiased, then it will be 1 by 2 for getting heads and 1 by 2 for getting tail. Okay, now that we have figured out the probability of head and probability of tail, let's calculate what is the probability of the event. So they have said that we should get exactly 2 tails. Unbiased means that the probability of getting heads and the probability of getting tails is the same. Okay, so let me just briefly describe the derivation of probability for unbiased. If it is unbiased, probability of head is equal to probability of tail. Probability of head plus probability of tail is equal to 1. So 2 times probability of head will be equal to 1, or probability of head is 1 by 2, which is also equal to the probability of getting tails. Now this is the derivation for unbiased. This is the derivation for biased. Now, how you know whether it's a biased or an unbiased problem is, in case they mention something like the likelihood of getting a tail is 2 times the likelihood of getting a head, then you know that it is a problem that requires the consideration of bias. However, if they have not given you any biasing condition, then you can just assume that they are talking about an unbiased coin. It can also apply to coin, then dice, and cards. Okay, so it will apply to all these things. We will be discussing all that in great detail in our masterclass. We'll be posting a list of all the topics later on. Okay, so don't worry about that. We'll be sending an email with all the calendar wise, what day, what topic will be covered, etc. Okay, now the next part is, what is the probability of getting exact two tails? Now to solve this, you need to solve this problem in 2 steps. Okay, step 1 is you consider a typical success scenario. So typical success scenario would be, I got tail on my first toss, I got heads on the second toss, I got tail on the third toss, I got heads on the fourth toss. So this is a typical successful case or typical successful outcome. Now the probability of getting a tail on the first toss is 2 by 3. Probability of getting a head on the second toss is 1 by 3. Tail is 2 by 3. Heads is 1 by 3. So the probability of the typical case is 2 by 3 to the power 2 into 1 by 3 to the power 2. But this is not the only case. Who said that tail head should happen? It can be tail tail, head head. It can be tail head head tail. It can be head head tail tail. It can be head tail tail head. So like that you can have so many cases, and each of these will have the probability of 2 by 3 to the power 2 into 1 by 3 to the power 2. Ditto, ditto, ditto. So now we have to calculate how many variations are possible, and that is our second step. For calculating variations, you should know how to calculate the permutations of n items in which p items are of a certain kind. So that is the textbook definition. Don't worry too much about that. Let's take an example. If I take the word TOM, Tom, in how many ways can I rearrange them? I can have TOM, TMO, OTM, MTO, and I can have MOT, OMT. So there are 6 ways. Now if I consider the word EGG, okay, then I can have GEG, GGE. I cannot have any more possibilities. So there are just 3 ways. So how come for this 3-letter word we are getting 6 ways, and this 3-letter word we are getting only 3 ways? Well, the reason is that in this word the letter G is repeating 2 times. So permutations in which there are repetitions in the choices that are available, we need to do some additional steps. So the first step will be, consider the word as a word which has no repetition. So let me take another word, LITTLE. So LITTLE is a 6-letter word, and if there are no repetitions, I can arrange them in 6 factorial ways. Now here L is repeating 2 times. So to compensate for that, I will divide 6 factorial by 2 factorial. T is repeating 2 times. So to compensate for that, I will divide 6 factorial again by 2 factorial. So the number of ways in which I can rearrange the letters in the word little would be 6 factorial by 2 factorial into 2 factorial. Now the same concept we are going to approach or use for THTH. Assume that it's a 4-letter word, and we have to calculate how many ways can this be arranged. So step 1, assume it as a word in which all the letters are different. And step 2 will be to compensate for the probability, for the repetition. So t is repeating 2 times, to 2 factorial. H is repeating 2 times, so 2 factorial. Now we have figured out that the number of ways in which we can rearrange this is 4 factorial, 2 factorial, 2 factorial. So you have one part of the answer here and the second part of the answer here. If you combine both of them, you get 4 factorial by 2 factorial into 2 factorial into 1 by 3 square into 2 by 3 square. So our answer would be option A. Okay. Now in probability, you can also get questions based on coins, you can get questions based on dice, you can get questions based on cards, you can get questions based on pulling out different colored balls out of a bag. And all these problems, they can give it a twist by adding the bias to it. Okay. So ask your friends this. Will they be able to solve probability questions once a bias is introduced? When a bias is introduced, you have to know how to deal with that bias. Only then will you get the answer. Okay? Yeah. And those who think that this takes a lot of time, I agree that it takes a lot of time. However, once you practice this, okay, if you do just one or two more problems involving this concept, all these questions are solvable just by looking at the option. Okay? So it's not difficult, you just need a little more practice. And the masterclass is totally free. Okay? Let's move on to the next problem. This is also an aptitude test favorite, which is from the topic boats and streams. We have Elon Musk in the chat. The masterclass is not paid. The masterclass is free. And if you complete all the 7 days of the masterclass, you'll also be eligible for an online certificate. Okay. So if you want to earn an e-certificate as proof of the time that you have invested in developing yourself during this break, then that would be a great way of building your resume. And in fact, we were predicting that interviewers are going to ask you, how did you spend the break that you got because of the COVID-19 outbreak? Okay. So interview is also something that you need to give a lot of consideration. And for that, we have a product called eGuru. So if you go to eguru.oo, you will learn that eGuru is the world's first on-demand mock interview platform. Okay. So how it works is, now suppose you want to go to a certain industry. Let's say you want to be a software developer. However, you're not really sure, what kind of questions you're going to get during the software developers interview. So what we do is we put you in touch with an industry expert. And we organize an interview for 35 minutes. The entire thing happens online, in which the industry expert will conduct a mock interview and they will give you feedback on what are the areas where you did well and what are the areas in which you need to improve. And if you join within this duration using the code CODE 30, you will get a discount on our interview packages. So please check out eGuru. Now let's look at the question from boats and streams. Gravit, how you can differentiate yourself is, first of all, you don't have to say that you learned it from Ethnos. And we have people participating all over India, so it is highly unlikely. What you can do is, what kind of increase in your capability have you experienced as a result of your participation? For example, you can tell them that I have increased my problem solving ability, I have developed my critical reasoning skills, I have developed my vocabulary, or I have developed my programming skills, I have augmented my skill set by learning about cloud. So you can differentiate yourself by how you participated in this particular course, in addition to the online certification. So the masterclass is starting on Monday. It will start on 23rd. Okay, now let's solve this problem. To go from two riverside cities A and B, a boat takes 3 times as much time to go upstream as it does to move downstream. If the speed of the river is 0.5 km per hour, then what is the speed of boat in still water? Okay, so here I've been told that the ratio of time taken to go upstream, let's call that TU, by time taken to go downstream should be 3:1. Now the basic formula that we have is speed is equal to distance upon time, and if we keep this distance as constant, then we can say that speed is inversely proportional to time. Or I can say that if the ratio of the time taken to go upstream to the time taken to go downstream is 3:1, then the speed upstream to speed downstream will be the ulta of that. Okay, the speed upstream and speed downstream is 1/3. Now remember, this is just a ratio and it is not absolute. Okay, so it's just a ratio, it is not absolute. So what I'm going to assume is speed upstream, speed downstream. They've given that the ratio is 1:3. So I'm going to assume that the upstream speed is 1 km per hour and the downstream speed is 3 km per hour. If I know the upstream speed and the downstream speed, then calculating the speed of the river is easy. Speed of the river will be equal to speed upstream plus speed downstream. Sorry, not speed upstream plus speed downstream. Speed downstream minus speed upstream by 2. Okay, this will be the speed of the river. So if I assume that speed of the downstream or speed of the boat downstream is 3 and upstream is 1, then the speed of the river will be 3 minus 1 by 2, which is equal to 1 km per hour. However, this particular value 1 and 3 was assumed by us, but actually in the question, okay, the speed of the river is only 0.5. So there is a difference between the assumed and the actual case. So the actual case is 0.5 km per hour, which is half of 1 km per hour. So in order to match our assumption and actual case, we have to divide our assumed values by 2. So the actual speed upstream will be 1/2 km per hour, which is 0.5 kilometer per hour, and this will be 3 by 2, which is 1.5 kilometer per hour. Okay, now these are the actual values. Now once you know the actual values, speed in still water will be speed downstream plus speed upstream by 2. So 0.5, which is the speed upstream, or we'll write it in the correct order, 1.5 plus 0.5 by 2, which is 1 kilometer per hour. That will be the speed of the river. So that's right. The answer is 1 kilometer per hour. Now let's do a quick recap. So in this webinar, we have gone through time and work, okay? And we've gone through profit and loss, and we've gone through permutation combination, and we've gone through probability, and we've gone through boats and streams. However, we have discussed only a limited set of questions that can actually come in the aptitude test. There are a lot more questions. Some of them are simpler than this, some of them are tougher. For you to master these areas, and these are the areas in which you will start getting questions very frequently for aptitude test, and number properties, mixtures allegations, ratio proportion variation. There are so many chapters that we will cover, even geometry, mensuration, heights and distances, logarithms. All this will be comprehensively covered during our online class. Okay, so I hope you join us for that masterclass so that you can expand your awareness of all these topics. And just to summarize, we have a webinar on cloud computing that is happening on Friday, and it will happen at 11 a.m. same time, and the link will be shared on our Telegram channel. So please feel free to join our Telegram channel, and it will be there in our description. Okay, right. So these days what's happening is, especially when you have this break, the recruiters will be expecting you to do something extra. Normally people will say that, okay, I know Java, I know Python, I know MySQL, but you need something more than that in order to differentiate yourself from other competitors. If you want a normal job which pays around, let's say 2.4 lakhs per annum or 4 lakhs per annum, then you don't need to get yourself certified as a cloud computing expert. However, if you're looking for a really high package, let's say 20 lakh plus, 10 lakh plus, 8 lakh plus, whatever you would quantify as high, then you need to build yourself with certain certifications. And you've all heard of AWS, which is Amazon Web Services. It is one of the most popular platforms for cloud computing. And we have organized a webinar for you at 11 a.m. on March 20th, where Arvind, who's our cloud computing expert, who's certified by AWS, will give you a quick orientation on that particular topic. So please make sure that you join us. And repetition, the masterclass will start on Monday, and it will start from March 23rd at 11 a.m. The webinars will happen on a platform called GoToWebinar. You will find details about how to log in for those webinars and how to participate in an email that we'll be sending. So please do open emails that are sent by Ethnos by CodeMitra. Sorry, CodeMitra by Ethnos. And join our Telegram channel. It's t.me/Ethnos CodeMitra. And don't forget to avail this special discount that is going on for our mock interview platform using the code 30 for eGuru. And the masterclass is not happening on YouTube. The masterclass will be happening on GoToWebinar, and it's totally free. The first 7 days is free. And the details regarding this will be provided through email, and also please ensure that you join our Telegram channel. It's been a wonderful experience leading this webinar for all of you. I know that you would like to learn more and more tricks and more shortcuts, not just in quantitative aptitude, but also in reasoning ability, in verbal ability, and also develop your skills a little bit in soft skills. For example, spoken English, interview preparation, resume building, group discussion. We'll be covering that very comprehensively across various webinars and certification programs that we offer on our platform. So please stay tuned in and have a wonderful day. Yes, the certification program is on attendance of the 7-day program. So everybody, thank you so much for joining. This is Amrit from Ethnos and CodeMitra.